What's good, everybody? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ron, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate as the burning building that is known as college football crumbles around us. Here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. Fantastic to have you guys with us. Always do appreciate you making us part of your day. We know there's a ton of choices out there. The fact that you guys choose us day in and day out warms the cockles of our hearts. Here's how you can take part in the show. You can give us a ring at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. The text line is there for you at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. You can get to us on Facebook, on the carpro.com text line, and on YouTube as well. So here is what's coming up on the show today. 6 o'clock p.m., our ACC and SEC team preview series continues. Mark Ennis joins us on Louisville. Louisville is favored in an inordinate number of games this year. It's crazy to think about that. So how is Jeff Brom going to work at his alma mater? Who is going to be the first coach, the first notable coach fired in either college or the NFL this year? We'll ask you. We hope to get your answers. We'll take a look at MLB post-trade deadline. We'll take a look at some World Cup picks as we head toward the round of 16. Heisman Trophy voter Brent Beard joins the show. We've got the top 5 at 5. We've got either or, and we have you here on the most interactive sports radio show anywhere. My friends, there have been a select few days in terms of college football realignment that have shaken us to our core, right? Those of us who call ourselves college football traditionalists, college football historians, there's been a few days that have really, really shaken us, right? Colorado going from the Big 12 to the Pac-12, Nebraska going from the Big 12 to the Big 10, Maryland leaving the ACC and going to the Big 10. The dissolving of the Big East football conference, right? No more football, just basketball, and half the basketball conference it used to be. And then, folks, as we sit here today, we are observing in real time the destruction of the Pac-12, once the Pac-10, soon to be the Pac-4. That is because the only certainties moving forward in that conference are California, Stanford, Oregon State, and Washington State. Stanford, it's important to them to be tied to the academics of the Pac-12. California, Oregon State, and Washington State, nobody wants. Nobody wants them. The Pac-12 can't just go raid the Mountain West because Mountain West teams have a $32 million exit fee. What is absolutely patently absurd is that there is no exit fee for Pac-12 teams. Why? There is no exit fee because their TV deal has runneth out. And perhaps the most egregious lack of foresight, lack of forward thinking, my boss always says to me, Mark, the 7 Ps, have you done the 7 Ps? Do you guys know what the 7 Ps are? Prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance.
I prefer dodge, dip, duck, dive, and dodge.
There you go. Prior proper planning prevents piss poor performance. Well, what did the Pac-12 not do? The 7 Ps. What do they not have? A TV deal, a media rights partner, right? That is why they cannot hold these schools to anything. So the landmark news that we have today is Oregon and Washington are leaving for the Big Ten.
Mark, I want to interject here. I've got some breaking live video from inside the Pac-12 headquarters. As the building burns to the ground,
I'm going to hear a tile fall any moment now. A ceiling tile is going to fall down. You know, is the logo still outside, or has a bandit made away with that? Guys, this is incredibly sad. You know, this is a mismanagement course. A lot of this is unlucky. We shared with you the biggest mistake the Pac-12 made yesterday. In 2011, they elected not to bring on Oklahoma and Texas. They elected not to bring them on. Okay. And that, my friends, is going to go down as the very reason why the Pac-12 has folded. You know, do you think for a minute that they wouldn't have a media rights deal if Oklahoma and Texas were in that conference? You think for a minute they would be looking at streaming only if Oklahoma and Texas were in that conference? Aaron Torres, a frequent guest of this show, said, look, when Oklahoma and Texas left for the SEC in 2021, the Big 12 was on the verge of collapse. The Pac-12 commissioner, George Kliavkoff, either had no interest or couldn't convince his presidents to expand and add Big 12 schools. That's the day the Big 12 died, not today. Aaron, I would go back further to the day they chose not to add Oklahoma and Texas. We can roll our eyes at that now and say, you idiot. But the reality is, folks, you respect the fact that they wanted to maintain the regionality of college football. They wanted to remain the Pacific Athletic Conference, and they lost the ability. They would lose the ability to do that if they added two teams from the South in the center of the country. So Texas and Oklahoma don't go west, they go east. They join the SEC, and here we are today. So let's just quickly update you on where we are, okay? On where we are.
I thought you were going to say, let us pray over this now dead and rotting carcass.
Ladies and gentlemen, nod your heads and bow. We solemnly swear it is now time to mourn. It is now time to grieve the Pac-12. Folks, they have gone from 12 teams. They have lost UCLA and USC. That takes them down to 10. They have lost Colorado. That takes them down to 9. Okay? Then we have the news today that Arizona is also going to be joining Colorado in the Big 12. As we told you guys yesterday, that takes them down to 8. All right? So then they lose Oregon and Washington. That takes them down to 6. Well, how do they get from 6 to 4? They get down from 6 to 4 because Utah and Arizona State are now also in serious talks to join the Big 12 conference. Also in serious talks. That takes them down to 4, should we get to that point. If you get down to 4, you don't have a conference, brother. You don't even have a tea party. You know, like it will resemble diesel a World Cup group.
It's not a conference, that's a pod.
It's a pod. That's all you did. It's not even much of a pod-y, if you know what I'm talking about here. It's lame. It's joke. It's a joke. And so the Pac-12, folks, is on the verge of collapse.
There's only one scenario that I think keeps even those 4 schools together. They're certainly not going to be able to invite who they want from the Mountain West because they have big-time buyouts in place. Their only hope, Mark, is to merge with the Pac-12, with the Mountain West, but convince them to keep the Pac name. So it'll be the Mountain West plus Cal, Stanford, Washington State, and Oregon State, just reskinned as the Pac, however many that'll be.
How hilarious is this alliance that was struck between the Pac-12, the ACC, and the Big Ten?
Yep.
The alliance was to band together and just have a show of force against the mighty SEC. There are pictures of Kevin Warren, then Big Ten commissioner, now Bears president, having a cup of tea or a beer or a sit in this luxury suite with Pac-12 commissioner George Kliavkoff, smiling and chortling and talking to one another as they rip each other's heads apart. You remember a couple of years ago, all the conference commissioners were meeting in a hotel suite to try to figure out how to expand the college football playoff. Unbeknownst to the Big 12 and Todd Bowlesby, Greg Sankey was ripping their 2 biggest brands, Oklahoma and Texas, out from under their nose. Why did you expand? Greg Sankey said, if we didn't take them, anybody else was lining up to do so. They're a very, very valuable brand, a very valuable entity. Look, folks, if you listen to the major networks, right? If you listen to, ESPN or Fox, you're not going to hear a lot of honest commentary on this because those networks are in bed with the conferences. So I was watching and listening today, and I heard a lot of, this is what happens. This is business. This is change. Do you guys have any idea? And I look forward to asking Brent Beard this at 4:00 p.m. today. Why is this happening now? Of all times, why is this happening now? I know it's money-based. I know it's greed-based. Coach Prime of Colorado came out today and said this is all about money. So why do we want to throw kids under the bus when they go after their bag? It's all about chasing the bag. Good point, Dion. Right? But the entire thing, NIL, the transfer portal, conference realignment, the expanded playoff, it all got people killed in the movie Seven by Kevin Spacey because it's one of the 7 dirty sins. It's all about greed. And the level of greed that we're seeing, eschewing the history and tradition of our favorite sport, college football, and we're seeing this level of greed by the presidents, the athletic directors, is disgusting. Diesel, this is gross, man.
I think it's 85% greed, 15% fear. It's what's called a prisoner's dilemma. If you don't go when there's an opportunity, somebody else will, and you're going to be left behind in this situation, making a whole lot less money. So you got a lot of schools who feel like they don't have a choice. I'm sure there's a tiny part of some of these conference commissioners or university presidents, athletic directors who are saying, man, this is not going to be fun flying our team from literally one corner of the country to the other corner of the country. It's not going to be fun doing that. But if we don't do it, somebody else is going to take the deal, so we have to.
And that's where we're at. Guys, that is where we're at right now. You don't have to. That's the $1 million story here. You don't have to do this. Oregon and Washington are getting 50% of the Big Ten money. They're only getting 50% of their share. How about that?
And that's what baffles me, that 2 proud universities who just watched 2 of their conference brethren go get full shares are accepting this deal.
And it gives the impression that Oregon with Phil Knight's money and Washington in the city of Seattle are crawling and begging to the Big Ten to take them. Even though now college football loses some of what makes it so special, loses that regionality, loses the fact that each part of the country, each corridor had a different flavor of college football. Now college football is just becoming the NFL. And I do predict that there's a faction of you guys who are going to love this because, when I wave the SEC flag, that isn't going to mean a whole hell of a lot anymore because the Southeast eventually is going to be all over the country. When you wave the Big Ten flag, hey, the Big Ten has the best football in the country, try not to laugh, it no longer means the Midwest. It means the entire country. And I've never seen a greater show of an example of how the college football desperately needed a central leader, desperately needed a commissioner to prevent this sort of thing from happening. Somebody who actually cares not only for their own self-interest, but for the greater good of the sports. And we have lost that, folks, completely now. Oregon and Washington, gone. USC and UCLA, gone. Colorado and Arizona, gone. Arizona State and Utah, almost gone. Talks intensifying to go to the Big 12. Talks intensifying. Let's see here. The Big 12 has 14 teams. With Colorado and Arizona, they go to 16 teams. And everyone's just in a race to be first. What it means to be a member of the Big 12, what it means to be in the heartland of America is lost. What it means to be a member of the Pac-12 or Pac-10 is completely and totally lost. And it's depressing. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. It's depressing. You know, maybe you tune into this show because you want to be upbeat and you want to have fun. And I'm sorry, I'm falling short of that today. I don't know what you guys want me to say. I think we're watching college football as we knew it and love it burn to the ground, and no one is paying attention to your interests.
Spur Daddy says it's now called the Pac No More, with the ACC soon to follow.
Texter says, why don't the conferences have enough money to keep regional teams? Did they negotiate poor TV deals, or are individuals with fancy titles not distributing the wealth enough? Well, we haven't really had merit-based stipends, Texter. We've always distributed the money equally amidst all of these conferences, right? They negotiated poor TV deals, yes, and the Pac-12 is now losing all their members, right? Because they don't have a good deal in place. The one that was floated from Apple was entirely streaming. And the Utahs of the world, the Oregons and Washingtons of the world are saying, the hell with this. Imagine the position that the Pac-12 president has been in the last few days. Find us a new TV deal or else. Find us a deal immediately or we're gone, right? Have any of you ever been given an ultimatum in a relationship that you just couldn't meet? You know, make $80,000 a year by tomorrow or I'm walking out of this relationship. That's essentially what the schools are doing to the Pac-12. They did not have a competent, a competitive deal in place in time. Their deal is up. Everyone is leaving. One would think all of these schools could come together and help the conference in fighting for their deal. But as far as we know, that hasn't taken place. And they're all looking at their neighborhood. They're all seeing a better neighborhood across the way. And they're all renting moving vans. That's what's going on, my friends. All right. I have a recommendation for the SEC. I'm going to share that recommendation with you next, and I'm going to tell you it is not going to be popular among Clemson fans. That, my friends, is next. Let's get the text line going today, ladies and gentlemen. 71307. Start your text with the word fan, and away you go. On the carpro.com text line, that is next. This is Offsides right here on the Fan Upstate. Clemson fans are not going to like this, but the SEC should stand pat. I'm Mark Ryan. I approve this message, and you're listening to the most interactive sports talk show anywhere, right here on the Fan Upstate, 97.7 FM in Greenville, 97.1 FM in Spartanburg, on the Odyssey app as well, AUDACY, also on YouTube for the first 2 hours and 20 minutes of the show today. Yeah, folks, if I'm the SEC and, Greg Sankey has delivered kind of a coy response on this. Our focus has been to continue on and building around the 16-member institutions we have. He was asked about Florida State's candidacy, and that's what he said. Our focus is to continue to build around. It's a non-answer. He's not telling you he's not going to do something, right? He is simply saying to you, our focus is on what we've got right in front of us. But I really hope, my friends, that the SEC does actually stand pat. Because as presently constituted, they can still loosely claim to represent the southeastern portion of the United States. I realize Missouri's an odd fit. I realize Oklahoma and Texas are pretty much dead center. But you've got the southern part of the central part of America, right? And then you go east, and you essentially have the lower quadrant of that region. You look at the ACC, and the ACC is essentially, Diesel, the entire East Coast, right?
Yeah.
It's essentially the entire East Coast. The Pac-12 is non-existent.
How far is Louisville from the coast? Long way.
Miles, right?
Yeah.
The Pac-12 is non-existent. The Big 12 has schools in Utah. What is the map for the Big 12 nowadays? Anyway. The Big 12 has Utah and West Virginia in it, Diesel.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's what the Big 12 has right now.
And it's got a big hole in the state of New Mexico.
The Big 10 has the Midwest and now the most valuable brands on the West Coast. The SEC has something in front of it right now that no other conference has, and that is regional pride. They have regionality. They have the uniqueness that made college football unique, that has, with the moves today, been flushed down the toilet. I mean, what are we even doing? Colorado leaves the Big 12, goes to the Pac-12, goes back to the Big 12. Diesel, it's kind of pathetic. It feels like, and this has happened to me, Diesel, quite honestly. I was the most painful period of my life, Gus. Most painful period of my life. Hosting Afternoon Drive with Booger McFarland in Tampa. I get engaged. We get a super nice home on the bay in Tampa. We get a puppy, okay? Unbeknownst to me, there are negotiations going on behind the scenes, and my station is involved in a 13-station trade, okay? CBS Sports Radio traded 8 stations to Beasley. Beasley traded 5 stations back to CBS, and we were involved in that trade. And then the new company said that we're not going to continue sports in Tampa. Well, 2 months after that, 2 months after I lost my job, when everything had been going beautifully and literally we had just gotten engaged, okay? My fiance at the time says to me, I'm no longer feeling that into you. And then it hit me that she wasn't into me. She was into the job and the status and the title and the VIP parties and the hanging out with NFL players and being with somebody that people knew around town. Like, that's what she was into. And when that was stripped away, she left. She left. Diesel, it feels like that to me right now, brother. Like, it feels like, well, wait a minute. If you don't show me glitz and glamour, we're going to peace out to the Big Ten. Sincerely, Oregon and Washington. They had zero loyalty to the conference, to the presidents, to the athletic directors, to the conference's office as well. In no way did they work together to bring this together. They left when the money dried up. And it just feels so superficial to me, man.
Yeah. Look, I can understand the move from Oregon and Washington standpoint because they've been working on this deal for like a year, probably longer. And they came to the realization that their conference was not as valuable as anybody thought they were, especially when, you had ESPN financed by Disney, who are pumping tremendous amounts of money into the SEC, into the ACC. I think was the Big Ten on ESPN as well. Was that their deal prior to this hybrid deal with them and Fox? And so the Pac-12 found themselves out there dealing with a different set of negotiators. And to those negotiators, what the Pac-12 had was not worth anywhere remotely close to what the conferences on the East Coast were getting. Remember, the value of anything is what somebody's willing to pay you for it. Like, not many things have intrinsic value. The value is what someone is willing to pay you for it. So they learned that their conference was not worth that much money. And they also looked to the East Coast, to the ACC, watching what's happening. We talk about it all the time, what's happening with Clemson and the fact that they are at such a financial disadvantage over teams in the state and in their region. And those schools said, we can't let that become us. They were in a unique situation, not having a deal, having to accept something or being on the verge of accepting something that was streaming only. And, 20 years from now, that may seem like a totally fine deal, but that's not the media landscape that we have today. You got to deal with the landscape you got today, looking forward 10 to 15 years. Again, 20 years from now, Apple TV may be absolutely enormous, but as of right now, it's not. And so it's not that valuable.
I do not believe, Diesel, that the SEC is in a position where they have to expand. I understand Clemson and Florida State are out there. I understand that they are in the southeastern footprint, but I am not of the belief that the SEC has to expand. If you have more mouths, you have more mouths to feed. And I am not of the belief that that is in the SEC's best interest right now. And furthermore, outside of Clemson and Florida State and Notre Dame and maybe Miami, I'm not so sure how many elite brands are really left at this point. Is Utah an elite brand in college football? Right? Like, what is the best brand right now at this moment in the Big 12? Is it Kansas State? Is it TCU? Is it Oklahoma State? Are those folks elite brands? Is Colorado really an elite brand right now in college football? So I'm looking at the lay of the land right now if I'm the SEC. And I'm saying, who else is out there where if they jump ship, it could hurt us? And I'm saying, okay, Clemson, okay, Florida State, perhaps Miami. And that's really it. That is really it. I'm standing pat, folks. I'm standing pat. If I ever did look to expand, I'd look at Clemson first. I'd look at Clemson far before I'd look at Notre Dame. A couple years ago, I had the scoop that it wasn't Clemson or Florida State the SEC was interested in. It was Notre Dame. That's a disaster. What the hell does Notre Dame have in common with the Southeast? You lose that. You lose so much of what makes fans proud to be part of the Southeastern Conference, right? I'm standing pat. I don't need more mouths to feed. Sorry, Clemson. Sorry, Florida State. Sorry, Miami. Sorry, Notre Dame. You guys are the best brands out there that remain. I'm not interested. I'm not interested because we still have in the SEC regionality. We still have the pocket. We still have conference pride, whereas every other league is turning into the NFL. The Pac-12 has a school in New Jersey and schools in L.A. Pathetic. Never what college football was supposed to be. The Big 12 has schools in West Virginia and schools in Utah. Pathetic. Never what college football was supposed to be. The ACC claims an entire coast from Boston to Miami. Again, not really what college football is supposed to be. The SEC still has a claim to that, still has a claim to being the best of that, and therefore, they get my votes. Therefore, I'm standing pat. I know Clemson fans are not going to be thrilled with this. That is my decision. Okay, Texter says, let's see here. Pretty soon, college football will look like NCAA March Madness. Get those football brackets ready. That's the feeling, Texter. That's the feeling. We're just going to expand and bigger and bigger and bigger and billions of dollars, and none of us are going to pay attention to the regular season anymore. This realignment stuff, a Texter says, is about to go haywire. Everyone is about to realize it's a game of musical chairs, and schools and conferences are going to be left out. Texter says conferences should have incentives for wins and losses. Everyone gets a nice flat rate, but the more you place towards the top, you would get an additional money. It should make things more competitive amongst the schools. Texter, I love that. I love performance-based payouts. Vanderbilt, you've sucked for 30 years. You have to earn your money here. Okay? Oh, no, Vandy, you're threatening to leave. Who else wants Vanderbilt, ladies and gentlemen? By a show of hands, anyone? Bueller, Fry? Nobody wants Vanderbilt? Oh, I'm so sorry. Oregon and Washington knew they were about to be left out. Just like I said, there's about to be a lot of teams feeling the same way. Well, they didn't like the sounds of the new media rights deal. And the Pac-12 didn't get it done by the time they needed to get it done. You know, the demand for Pac-12 football was not out there. Why do you think that is, Diesel? No demand for Pac-12 football. Number one, everybody knows USC and UCLA are leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, these damn games are on when we're already exhausted from watching football at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the teams they've had, even with the two that are on their way out the door already, they're not winning anything of note. Southern Cal's not winning titles. Oregon's not winning titles. Washington's not winning titles. UCLA, have they even sniffed a conference championship in the last 20 years? Like, they know that their football's not that good. It's good enough to get you into a playoff. It's good enough to get some national media coverage, but it's not good enough to win when it really matters.
Texter says, Mark, the Oregon SEC was intended to be east of the Mississippi River and south of the Mason-Dixon line. Several schools do not meet this geographic criteria. Trey, I'm aware of that. I am very, very well aware of that. However, they still have a loose claim to the Southeast, right? You add Notre Dame, you have no claim anymore. No claim. You add any of these Pac-12 schools, you have no claim anymore. You're just a different version of the National Football League, and it's gross. Texter says, as a conference, you may be looking to stand pat, but I think a lot of schools are sitting there with antsy feet. Yeah, but if I'm Greg Sankey, the doors are closed. Expand, Big Ten, expand. Take them all. Take them all. Okay? We're good. We like where we're at. We're good. What are your thoughts and opinions on the Baltimore Ravens this season? A dangerous team, Texter. A very, very dangerous team. Lamar Jackson healthy. Lamar Jackson motivated. Lamar Jackson something to prove. Getting the wide receivers back healthy, right? Roquan Smith, they give him the big deal. He's going to be a perennial all-pro now. Cincinnati was one of my least confident division winners in terms of my predictions, and it's because I think Baltimore could win that division. I think they could win that division. 71307 on the text line is where you guys can get to us on the show. We've got Brent Beard, Heisman Trophy voter. Can't wait to talk to him about all this. Coming up at 4 o'clock p.m., we've got our Louisville conference preview with our buddy Mark Ennis coming up at 6 o'clock p.m. this evening. And little programming reminder for you guys. I have a show with CBS tomorrow, noon to 5 p.m. Eastern time. What do you guys think? I'm thinking about opening up with this. Okay. I'm going to let you play program director right now. I'm thinking about opening up with realignment talk. And look, on national radio, right? Here's something you guys may not know. On local radio, you have so much more room, I think, for creativity than you do on the national radio front. Because on the national radio front, you're supposed to be talking about what's hot, right? I mean, that's how I've always been instructed for it, right? You're supposed to be talking about NFL. You're supposed to be talking about Major League Baseball trade deadline and how that shakes out for the rest of the year. You're supposed to be talking about pro sports largely, right? But college football is America's number 2. And I think one of the reasons why they've selected me is that they know I'm a college football first guy in college football country. And they want their network, CBS Sports Radio, to be representative of America, right? So what do you think? Should I open up a national show tomorrow with realignment talk? Or is that a wee bit risky? What do you guys think? Look, to me, guys, it's the biggest thing out there. The biggest thing out there. You got the Women's World Cup as a topic, right? But I don't know if you lead with that. Yeah, preseason, Aaron Rodgers is a topic, Diesel. But is there really that juicy lead NFL story out there right now? I'm leaning towards leading with this.
Yeah.
And I've never done that.
Yeah, I think you should absolutely lead with this. We're still in kind of that dull, speculative time with NFL football. So this is the hot topic. This changes a lot of things for a lot of people all over the country. Man, I wish that there were fans of Oregon, Washington, Colorado, Arizona, Arizona State, Utah with torches standing on the front lawns of the university president saying, we don't want this. I wish that's what was happening. But the thing is, it's going to be another year in the Pac-12, Pac ? And so next year, a lot of those really fervent detractors who don't want this, they will have calmed down a little bit and they'll just be excited to go watch football. But we're going to see people vote with their money on this, Mark. We're going to see fans not show up to games because they don't recognize and don't care about the team that's lining up on the other side.
Texter says, Mark, I agree with you. I'm a huge Ravens fan. I really appreciate you giving me your thoughts and opinions. So says David O'Greer. Of course, bud. Anytime. Just hit us with questions. Happy to give those to you. Texter says performance-based pay in college football opens the door for promotion and relegation like European soccer. I think being dragged into obscurity would make some alums really upset. It's making them upset right now. This is not for the fans. And, they continue to assume that the money and the fans are always going to be there. And that is a hell of an assumption to make. Texter says, so I'm an NFL guy, as previously referenced, big Ravens fan, but I will admit the topic of realignment does pique my interest. So says David and Greer. Ask the Oregon and Washington fans and the USC fans what they think about your SEC take. Are they all trying to recreate the SEC? I think they're trying to beat the SEC, and they think they can do it by giving everyone in their league more money than SEC teams are giving their conference. Texter says, let's see here. Mark, you have so much in your arsenal, you don't need our advice. But yeah, realignment will hit with everyone all over the country right now. Guys, I value your advice. I appreciate your advice more than I could ever put into words. I've been thinking about this week. It's like, man, what is my open for this show? And I'm leaning realignment. Tomorrow at noon, you'll be able to hear if that was the decision I made, right? Trey in Kentucky says, darn straight lead with college football. With a local text line work on the CBS national show? We'll have it up, Trey. It absolutely will. Texter says, Mark, the Pac-12 being ripped from the West Coast is wrong. That's what a college football region should be. Also, Mark, ACC is the East Coast, and that's not how college football was meant to be. Pick a side, Mark. Okay, so yeah, I will. No, look, the Pac-12 was, in fact, the West Coast, right? The issue is, and what I mean by that, Texter, is the East Coast has so many major cities. On the West Coast, I understand California's got a massive population, but you've got a large body of land with a smaller population in some of these states, right? So I get what you're saying. It is odd to me to have teams in Boston College and a team in Miami, right? That's odd to me. It's different. It's weird because of the population that exists on the East Coast portion of the United States. But I hear what you're saying. I appreciate you calling me out. Thank you so much. All right, coming up next, after the MLB trade deadline has come and passed, who is left standing as the true contenders to hoist the World Series trophy. That's next. This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. So you guys heard me say over the last few weeks that if I was the Angels, I would have traded Shohei Ohtani. They didn't trade him. They went all in with Shohei. They're still a long shot to make the playoffs. And if they don't, Shohei Ohtani is certainly going to leave. Even if they do, the feeling is that he is certain to leave, right? Shohei Ohtani certain to leave the Angels. I have no idea why the hell they wouldn't change that guy. As of right now, the Angels are listed as having, wait for it, an 8.7% chance to make the playoffs. They have not made a single playoffs since Shohei Ohtani has been there. Why the hell would you go back to that? You know, like baseball is not a sport where one player, okay, in Shohei Ohtani's case, two players, can make that sizable of a difference, right? It's not a sport like that. So the Angels have an 8.7% chance to make the playoffs, and they have gone all in on Shohei Ohtani because they figure, well, if we lose Shohei Ohtani, we're going to be rebuilding anyway, but they could have completely restocked their farm system, man. Could have completely restocked it. They didn't do that. I have no idea why they didn't do that, but they were buyers at the trade deadline. I was reading an article about the Braves and their activity before the deadline. CBS gave Atlanta a B, added Pierce Johnson and Brad Hand to the bullpen. They said turning Taylor Hearn into Nicky Lopez was, CBS called it a nifty trick. They said the Braves didn't need a lot done, but a couple of tweaks would do them well, would do them very, very well. The Angels got an A for their efforts at the deadline, right? They added Lucas Giolito, Ronaldo Lopez, CJ Cron, Randall Grichuk, and Dominic Leone. They had to upscale, and they had to upscale pitching. They had to make lineup adjustments. They had to do that all in an attempt to keep Shohei Ohtani. They had to make a decision. I feel like he's leaving anyway, folks. I feel like he's leaving anyway. I feel like, kind of like the Pac12 sat too long on their hands, crapped the bed, kind of like the NCAA sat too long and didn't put out an NIL plan of their own, and then it was too late to do it. I feel like that's where the Angels are here. I'm honestly shocked that they're trying to convince Shohei Ohtani to stay. They're going to lose him anyway. They're going to be left with nothing. Then Mike Trout is going to want to move, right? The right move was to press the reset button right now. And for whatever reason, they did not do that. I was looking at the post-trade deadline power rankings in the bigs. Of course, they've got the Braves listed as number one. They do mention, and I agree, that Spencer Strider needs to get into a more consistent groove. They've got the Orioles 2, the Rangers 3, and the Astros 4. So the next National League team to hit in the power rankings is not is not until the Dodgers comes at number 6, right? So 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all in the AL. Is this as much of a shoo-in to win the league as the Braves have ever been? It's really incredible. The NL has the number 1 team, the Braves, the number 6 team, the number 8 team, and the number 9 team. The Dodgers, the Phillies, and the Giants. The Giants are all of 11 games over 500. The Phillies are 8 games over 500. I don't know, man. This looks like as close to a shoo-in, Braves to the World Series, as possible. Right now, Atlanta is up on Chicago, the Cubbies, 8-0 in the top of the 7th inning. All right. Who better to talk all of this college football madness with us than Brent Beard, Heisman Trophy voter, First Coast News in Jacksonville, will join us next here on Offsides. We are the Fan Upstate. The college football world burns all around us. What will be left may not resemble anything we've ever recognized before.
Who will survive and what will be left of them?
Exactly right. This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. Hello to all of our friends watching us on YouTube right now. We love you guys. Joining us right now, one of our favorite people. He is a Heisman Trophy voter. You see him on TV in Jacksonville on First Coast News, and you follow him on Twitter. If you don't, please do at Brent Beard. That is Beaird. Joins us right now on the show. Brent, always great to catch up with you. I got to be honest with you, though, Brent, I'm in a bit of a bad mood about all of this stuff going on in college football right now. Let's open with this, Brent. Why now? Greed has always been a part of the human existence, but why now for all these these radical money grabs?
I think it's a lot of it is because we're trying to aim everything toward next year with the expanded playoffs. And the other thing that's going on is your TV deals are getting done. The SEC kicks in next year, Big Ten this year. And that was a big deal for the Pac-12. That's part of the reason that this thing disintegrated the way that it did is because the Pac-12 did not have the TV deal that the schools really wanted. I mean, basically the gist of their TV deal was Apple TV that would have brought in maybe $20 to $25 million, and these other schools are looking at going to either the Big 12 or the Big 10 and getting 2 and 3 times that per school. So, and unfortunately, the Pac-12 had many months to get this TV deal done and a better deal than they've got, and that hurt them desperately. But I think the surprise with this thing is that we had all this kind of culminate in one day with this many schools. We've been on the verge of something like this with expansion over the last few years, but something actually changed at the last minute and kept it from happening, as opposed to this time the schools made the decision, let's go forward.
Brent, a lot of big names in the punditry world believe that the egalitarian 12-team playoff with 6 guaranteed spots to conference champions model that would guarantee a spot for a group of 5 conference is just that. It's pie in the sky, that the SEC and the Big Ten would never agree to the same number of guaranteed spots that a group of 5 conference would get. How do you think all this realignment, which may see us down one major conference, puts the 12-team playoff model in jeopardy?
That's a good question, and I don't think we'll know that for another few months because we don't know what you're going to have with the Pac-12 and who at this point is going to be left with that. Now, there's a lot of school of thought that the Pac-12 is just going to, whoever is left is going to merge with, say, the Mountain West. But the problem with that is that may not be as simple as it appears to, would be because of whenever Mountain West schools leave before 2025, they've got a $32 million exit fee in the Mountain West, believe it or not. So there are just a lot of situations here that we don't know where this is going to be. I mean, I still think the 12 is going to give the non-Power 5 a lot more of a chance to be in the playoffs than they had before. Does that mean they're going to win it? Probably not. No. We know who's going to win it. They're pretty much the same schools that with the 4, but at least it gives you, I think, an opportunity to be able to do that. And frankly, Diesel, it's a good question. Well, we just don't know the answer to this until it shakes out further.
Brent, when all is said and done, will it be known as the Pac-1? Is that going to be when all is said and done with this league? Brent, why couldn't they get a deal done before now? You know, like what were the reasons for this? And how does this work, Brent? Can you bring us behind the scenes? Because I'm baffled that here we are, and the best that they had was some sort of streaming offer from Apple. Were the schools helpful to the conference in this process? Were they just standing by saying, show me the money? And apparently the demand was just not there for the product.
No. And look, linear TV, ESPN, Fox, your major networks still went out and they win the day. And they thought that you would have a lot of people excited and that they could sell this idea. Well, if we sell enough subscriptions, we can get above the money that this $20 million that we're looking at. So, I mean, for instance, you've got the Pac-12 schools with this Apple TV deal getting around 20 to 25, when the Big Ten is offered Oregon and Washington 35 to 40 and upwards. And we know the money for the Big Ten and the SEC is going to be exorbitant over the next few years. And guys, another part of this is not only did you not have Kliavkoff come up with the deal with the TV situation, but a lot of and Mark hit on this, a lot of your chancellors and presidents in the Pac-12 did not have any kind of sense of urgency to really get a lot of this done either. And that was a real problem. And the other problem with this thing is, and again, we say this a lot, and it's true that the presidents and the chancellors are the one making these decisions. And the problem is some of these presidents and chancellors in the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have either left their job or they just got on their job over the last few months, and that has been some sort of problem. So there are a lot of tentacles to this, but there are also a lot of people who were sad because people made fun of the Pac-12 After Dark and things like that, and I know they've had fun with that. But look, there are a lot of us who've grown up with the Pac-12. I mean, we're SEC, ACC guys primarily in our heart, but I mean, I've sat up late watching the Pac-12, appreciated who they've had, and the real shame with the Pac-12 this year is this is going to be one of their better years. I mean, they've got quarterbacks who you can make the argument that are better than what the ACC, Big Ten, and SEC have to some degree. So it's a shame that this happened in a lot of ways, but it really did surprise me that this is actually happening instead of something stopping it. And look, we had thoughts and reports this morning that they were all going to come together and stay together intact. And then as the day went on, we saw there's no way that was going to happen.
Brent, does it surprise you that Oregon and Washington are accepting partial shares of the Big Ten media deals? And what makes that so attractive to them? I know it's probably still more than what they were going to get in the Pac-12, but also your expenses go up pretty considerably. At what point are they going to be made whole? What can you tell us about that?
That is something that they will not immediately receive full shares. But as Diesel said, and this is from Pac-12 source, they will still make more than they would have by remaining in the Pac-12. So, and look, the reality of this is, I mean, I've seen some reports to where they may only get 50% of what the other schools will be getting, and it may be 5 to 7 years until they are fully funded. I guess you could use that word. So that yes, that people may not realize that, but that's a very good point of how long does it take until these schools are paid the same amount of money as everybody else. That is indeed a big deal, but still, the money that you get, and it's just staggering what they're going to be getting. And then, look, guys, in the Big Ten and the SEC, I mean, you've seen this like I have. I mean, it's estimated within 5 years or less that these schools are getting, now that they're getting like $54 million a year right now, but in 3 to 5 years they're going to be getting basically $100 million per school per year. I mean, that is mind-boggling to think about that kind of money, but that's where we're headed.
Brent, can you explain why Oregon and Washington are only receiving half shares? Is it are they just waiting for ESPN to pony up the additional money? Why is that a stipulation?
I think that's part of it. That when you go in there, yes, there's a lot of that that's considered, and there's probably some of that we don't even know while that's going on. But I mean, is that fair? A lot of people would say probably not, but the reality is, in this case, with the Big Ten and these schools, that's what they're going to have to deal with, which also leads to the question that you brought up too, is when this stuff starts, how creative are these schools going to be in their travel expenses? Guys, I tell you, that to me is going to be one of the more interesting exposés on this realignment over the next 2 years. And just take UCLA or USC, for instance, is how creative are they going to be with their teams in the more minor sports who are going to Rutgers in places like that? Are they going to, are the men and women going to ride on to take the same travel accommodations and things like that? That's going to be something that really going to be fascinating to find out.
Brent Beard, Heisman Trophy voter, joining us here on Offsides. Mark, Ron, and Diesel, the fan upstate. Brent, my take today has been, I hope the SEC stands pat. And I feel that way, Brent, because one of the things that made college football so special and so unique was the regionality of it. Yeah. And that has been completely lost. Now the Big Ten has LA and has New Jersey, right? The Big 12 has Utah and West Virginia. The ACC has the entire East Coast, Boston College to Miami. The Pac-12 has become a pack of one. The SEC is the only conference that can still at least loosely claim regionality. I understand Clemson and Florida State are within that southeastern footprint, but why have more mouths to feed? I'd love it if the SEC just stands pat here.
Well, I think that obviously, as Greg Sankey has said, we're just concentrating. He's been asked that this week. We're just concentrating on Texas and OU. Now, look, they, good and well that they're looking at their options, and they know that they've got enough money and they've got enough clout to where they can sit back and see how this goes. Now, look, the caveat to this would be, obviously, if Notre Dame calls, you're certainly going to listen, and all you got to say is, okay, when can you start? But Notre Dame's even going, I think, more independent now, and going to have a bigger and better deal sometime soon also. But I'll say that, look, we don't know this, and this is not inside information, but if you ask me, will the SEC expand again over the next few years, my answer to that would be yes. And I think a lot of that would have to do with something akin to what's going to happen with the ACC and the grant of rights. I know there's a couple of articles out today on, well, maybe this is a way to get around the grant of rights. Florida State is shouting from the mountaintop about what to do. I think what they'll end up probably is just getting a bigger share of the pie if they can do that within the league. And I had a consultant friend, I mentioned this guy before, bring up a pretty good point, that this is not going to happen. But his point was, in the midst of all this stuff, if the SEC really wants to grow their footprint and go from coast to coast, And his question was, and we'll never know this probably for a few years, but did they make any kind of third party checking into Oregon and Washington or Arizona and Arizona State, thinking they would really move the footprint from where it is now? That will be a question that I would love to know. And again, it may be quite a while before we do.
Brent, is Florida State and Clemson, if they get their uneven revenue distribution, does that make them happy long-term in the ACC, or is it just a stopgap to get them to the tail end of this grant of rights?
Yeah, I think it would be a stopgap at this point. I think if they had their preference, they would certainly want to get out. And again, if Florida State wants to get out, my understanding is they've got to let the league know by August the 14th in order to do that. Again, as we've said, for next year. And again, that there's so many complicating things in this grant of rights that go along with it. But I give Florida State credit. I mean, they put this thing under the microscope, and they're looking at it in about every way they possibly could.
Brent Beard joining us here on the show. Brent, do you get the sense maybe that these power brokers of college football have taken all of us for granted, fans for granted, and, let's go here and we'll get this money, and it's all an assumption that money is going to be there? My counterpoint to that, Brent, would be, if fans look up and this doesn't resemble the game that they love, how do you know the fans are going to stick around? We've already been through an era where we've seen attendance decline 7 years in a row. I'm thinking, Brent, we're going to look up at UCLA at Rutgers and see an attendance that looks like the Gasparilla Bowl. And how do they know the fans are still going to be here?
They don't know. They're greedy, and right now they've got an incredible amount of money, a lot of it through TV, but yet we see what's going on at ESPN, for instance, and some of the issues that they've had, and where they're going to be limited over the next few years. No, I think that's the problem in general. You look at NIL, you look at the transfer portal, you look at the whole 9 yards, and the fact, and look, I'm beginning to hear this more every day. I'm curious if you guys are, just from family, from friends, from media, I'm getting really frustrated with this because it's hard for me to follow my team anymore. I don't know what conference that they're going to be in 5 to 10 years, and I'm having to pay higher and higher ticket prices to go to games and see players that I don't know about anymore. So to your point, do we get to a tipping point, Mark and Diesel, where there is and I think this would be pretty healthy, frankly, where there is I don't know if you call it a strike. That's probably not what I'm looking for, but something definitive from the fans that would let the powers to be that we are to this point that we can go no longer. Now, what saved us in all this year after year after year is the play on the field. In other words, once the games get started, we get involved, we get excited, and it goes from there. But I think that's something that we're beginning to see is kind of a grassroots frustration, and how is that going to be monetized and politicized and whatever eyes word that you want to use, that fans actually begin to push back.
Well, Brett, I do hope, and I've made this prediction many times on the show over the past couple of days and weeks, that this thing gets so ridiculous, so out of hand, that 20, 25 years from now, there will be a push to regionalize the sport.
Yes.
And bring it back to what it's supposed to be.
Correct. Yeah. Oh, I've heard and read that today all day long. That's a really good point. That would be very possible. And look, at some point, guys, we may end up having to do that just for just to be able to save the sport. I mean, because of the travel costs and the NIL costs and the things of that nature, we we don't like that term to put the genie back in the bottle, but at some point, it really does make you wonder if we pick up a preseason magazine 20 years from now, and a lot of these conferences are back to what we grew up with. How incredible would that be?
Would be incredible. And I hope that happens, Brent, because I don't like this. I'll close with you on this, buddy. I know you've been a huge proponent of moving to the 12-team playoff, but with you admitting that the 12-team playoff hastened all of this movement, are you backtracking from that statement at all? Are
No.
you still pro 12-team
Yes.
playoff, even if it results in all of this?
Yes. Yeah. Well, look, here's this is my stance on the playoffs all along. Is when you've got 12 teams in November, you've got much more interest in college football because you're dealing with 15 to 20 to 25 schools that are interested in their fan bases instead of what we've got now, which would be you've got 4 schools to go to the playoffs. So what does that mean? We've got about 8 fan bases that really think they've got a legitimate ideal in order to go. Now, with that said, I'm realistic enough to know that the schools that have the best rosters are still probably going to be in the Final Four. But to me, it's well worth it going to 12 with the interest and the excitement that we're going to generate later on in the year that we have never seen before. That's going to make up and compensate for a lot.
Brent Beard, Heisman Trophy voter, First Coast News in Jacksonville. Learned a lot, bud. Truly do appreciate the insight. Have an awesome weekend, okay?
You too, guys. Thanks as always.
All right, take care. Brent Beard. Follow him on Twitter, my friends, at Brent, BEAIRD. All right. We'll take your predictions. We go to the dark side when we come up next. And we're going to take your predictions on the first coach to lose his job in either college or the NFL. Who is it going to be? We'll tackle that next here at Offsides. We are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides. Mark, Ron, and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. How are you guys doing on a Friday afternoon? Fantastic to have you guys with us. We've got the CBS show coming your way tomorrow, noon to 5 p.m. Eastern time. Looking forward to that. I had a little correspondence with Brett McMurphy earlier today. He's been as plugged in as anybody, and he said for me to text him later this evening to see if he might be able to join us tomorrow on CBS Sports Radio. This segment, I don't know what it is about us that it's like, for some reason, it's just fun to speculate about other people's demise. It's not our best trait, right?
It's called Schadenfreude,
right,
Mark.
Yeah, it's not our best trait, Diesel, in any way, shape, or form.
Taking joy in someone else's downfall.
No,
that is Schadenfreude.
It isn't, but it is kind of, for whatever reason, it's interesting to talk about. All right, and I want to ask you guys the following. I am sitting here, and I have two tabs open on my computer. And one is a coaching hot seat index for the NFL. And boy, Diesel, we need to heist this icon, Diesel, because it's a bird that is on fire. And if we can heist this icon, this could be our Angry Birds description, right? So they rank all the coaches in terms of their level of seat warmth. And Brandon Staley of the Chargers has 3 flaming birds. Rather than give you the levels for everybody, I want to tell you who's on the hot seat right now. Brandon Staley, Chargers. Kevin Stefanski, Browns. Josh McDaniels, Raiders. Mike Vrabel, Titans. Mike McCarthy, Cowboys. Bill Belichick, Patriots.
Ooh.
Todd Bowles, Tampa Bay. They say he has the hottest seat. And Ron Rivera, such a nice dude, Washington Commanders. Those are the NFL coaches on the hot seat. The NFL replaces 5 to 7 head coaches every single year. So they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the hot seat right now.
The world needs coordinators too.
Yeah. How about college football? Now, college football has a site for this. It's called coacheshotseat.com. And I share it with you guys. During the regular season, I am a frequent visitor of coacheshotseat.com.
Coacheshotseat.com sounds like a website that ranks the roundness of the backsides of college football and basketball coaches.
Check it out, Diesel. Coacheshotseat.com. You'll see what I'm talking about here. And some of these dudes, now, number one has already been canned. They've gotten a little bit lazy in the offseason, folks. Pat Fitzgerald has already been canned. He was hot seat number 1. He couldn't even make it to the start of the season. Some of these guys are under pressure, right? But they're not on the hot seat. Billy Napier at Florida is under pressure. He's not on the hot seat. Billy Napier is not going to lose his job this year unless Florida goes 0-12. All right? Mario Cristobal, Miami, is not going to lose his job this year. But there is pressure on him. Wait a minute. What are we paying all this money for exactly? But who is actually on the hot seat in college football? We heard from Josh Beard this week, Diesel. He said Jimbo Fisher, bro, he's everything. He's under pressure. He's on the hot seat. He's under everything. All right. Jeff Hafley, Boston College. They could make a move, right? I know he's not a name that really moves the needle so much. Brent Venables is like Billy Napier and Mario Cristobal. There's pressure on him, but it's not hot seat pressure. Mel Tucker, Michigan State, I think is one and the same, is entering year 3. There's pressure on him. They're paying him a king's ransom, but I don't think they move on this year. Who is actually on the hot seat in college football? Like, who could actually lose their job? So in this segment, my friends, in the remaining 5 minutes of this segment, I want to take your predictions as to the coach that is going to lose his gig first. All right? NFL and college roughly starting at the same time. All right? And I want to know what you're thinking. Why this is interesting to me, I have no idea, but it is. And I want to see if any of you guys out there can nail this. All right, 71307 on the text line. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show.
Welcome to the stream. And I got to say this carefully, Mark. This is a very clever screen name. Don't Falk Up 23.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's a tough one.
It's almost like they were trying to get you in trouble.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
They were. Welcome to the stream. Don't. I'm just going to call you Don't. I'm going to call you Don't from now on because I feel like there's a good chance I falked that up and say it wrong on the air. The good news for the remaining Pac-12 teams as a UCFN, I've been hearing for years, you'd go undefeated in a G5. Time to put up or shut up now.
It most certainly is.
Yeah.
Most certainly
Welcome
is.
to the stream.
Other coaches on the hot seat. All right. Who is actually on the hot seat? Not just pressure, but hot seat. I'm going to go Jimbo Fisher is on the hot seat. Neil Brown, West Virginia is on the hot seat. Jeff Hafley, Boston College is on the hot seat. Tom Allen, Indiana, on the hot seat. Greg Shee Ono at Rutgers on the hot seat. I'm going to go Diesel, even though it's only year 2. Brent Pry, Virginia Tech, is on the hot seat. Showed there was no reason for optimism after that year 1. It was an awful year 1 for Brent Pry and Virginia Tech. Other coaches who may be on the hot seat. Are we ready to say Matt Campbell, Iowa State? Are we ready to say Eli Drinkwitz, Missouri? They just gave him an extension. That hasn't meant a whole lot in the past. Tony Elliott, Virginia, is he already on the hot seat? I don't think so, man.
He can't be. Not with everything that he's had to deal with there at Virginia. You know, in such a short time, he'll get some additional time. I don't know that it'll buy him another 5 years, but it might buy him, a year or 2 longer than what he would typically get. You say that coaches pop in year 3. I think Tony Elliott gets 5, just considering the circumstances that he's had to deal with, especially if he's done an exceptional job at building positive momentum there and just positive feelings from the fan base.
You ready for this, Diesel? The first 2 coaches who lose their jobs this year are both in the NFL, not in college football. It is going to be Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns, and it's going to be Todd Bowles of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's a guy that, he was kind of last man standing. Okay, you're already in the program, kind of got the job because Brady was familiar with him, but now that Brady's gone, there's no real tie to him anymore, right? And I don't think they're going to be good. And if the Bucs stink this year, which they probably will, folks are going to be saying about Todd Bowles, well, the Bucs didn't really want to hire him anyway. They're going to move on. Unfortunately, I think that's the case. Kevin Stefanski, Cleveland Browns, they did not pay Deshaun Watson the most guaranteed money in NFL history to suck when he's able to play again. Diesel, we have no guarantee that he's going to be pre-rub down Deshaun. We have no way of knowing that.
Well, you can't be good when you're not getting any massages. I think he's been told to stay 100 miles away from any massage therapists.
Yeah. So that is what I'm going with, my friends. I'm going with Kevin Stefanski of the Cleveland Browns. I'm going Todd Bowles of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'm saying those deals, those moves happen in October or November. Who is your first coach to lose his job in 2023? College or the NFL? Group of 5, Power 5, AFC or NFC? 844-326-3663. The carpro.com text line is there for you at 71307. Texter says Vrabel is definitely on the hot seat in Tennessee. Maybe with another 2 or 3 poor seasons, they make a move. Diesel, what do you think? First coach to lose his job this year. Who is it?
Ooh, man, I would love to see Eli Drinkwitz lose his job. That slippery little SOB. I would love for it to be Eli Drinkwitz. That's a tough call, man.
Right? It is. It's not easy. You're forecasting doom on somebody.
Yeah. I mean, Jimbo's an easy one to say. Neil Brown is an easy one. Mel Tucker, if he shows that he is a 1-year flash in the pan because you got a good roster on the transfer portal, you captured magic. Honestly, I think Dana Holgerson is another guy that's gone before long. I think Sean Elliott at Georgia State's going to be gone before long.
There's a reason these guys are on the hot seat, right, Diesel? There's a reason. This is one of my favorite sites, Diesel, and the faces stay the same, but the order moves around, moves around a little bit as time goes on. Then you scroll down, and they've got all the guys who are like in the red. They have a yellow area that's kind of medium, and then the guys who are safe are in green. But folks, the odds say there's going to be 10 plus new coaches at the FBS level. And the odds say there's going to be 5 to 6 new coaches at the NFL level, right? Who are they going to be? Offsides continues right after this. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, we are the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides. Mark, Ryan, and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. So you guys know, right? Like if you were a pitcher in the bigs, what would be your specialty pitch? You guys have to know I'm Barry Zito, right? I am the curveball artist. All right, we're going to throw a curveball at you right now. Diesel and I have had a lot of fun this week talking about, well, with all this change going on in college football, what if there were symbiotic relationships between Power Fives and Group of Fives where you could have promotion and relegation, right? Like let's say that Conference USA or the Sun Belt was attached to the SEC. Let's say it becomes that way because the gap between the Power Five and the Group of Five has never been larger. So the SEC is the major league team. The Sun Belt is the minor league conference. And every year, the bottom two of the SEC get bumped down to the Sun Belt, and the top two in the Sun Belt get bumped up to the SEC. It's an idea that Diesel and I love. It's an idea, folks,
Totally in for it.
But the problem is the lawsuits that would happen, as you know, Diesel, when Vanderbilt gets kicked out of the SEC.
Yeah, there would have to be some sort of system set up where there's guaranteed money, guaranteed X if you're in the SEC, guaranteed Y if you are in the Sun Belt, bonuses for achieving promotion, something like that. That there would have to be some assurances of what your money would be because, I said it, just imagine what it would be like for a Power Five school who's used to raking in $50 million a year in their television revenue to suddenly see $48 million of that go away. They would be able to stay afloat for a little while, but they would flippin' panic. Anybody would panic, Mark, if 96% of your revenue goes away, just vanishes.
Somehow they make it work in English soccer. Somehow they make it work.
I don't know how that works. Somebody who knows, promotion and relegation in English Premier League, let us know how that happens.
They get less money. I mean, yeah, they get less money, but do they lose their TV deal? Their share of the TV deal when they go from the Premiership to like the Championship.
But that's professional ranks where you can buy players and get players in like on an instant to drastically improve your team. It's not the same way with college football where you have to recruit players to come to you.
So anyway, folks, with the backdrop being promotion and relegation, I'm going to ask you guys, all right, what town in the upstate would you relegate? Okay.
Ooh.
There are at least 200 towns in the upstate. Okay. And you can have any number of reasons for wanting to relegate them. Now, if you relegate a town in the upstate, they are no longer part of the upstate. All right. You could have geographical reasons for this. You could have personal reasons for this. You could have quality of life reasons for this. But I thought it would be fun to ask you guys and just take kind of an informal poll, right? If you could jettison or you are the weakest link, goodbye, to any town in the upstate of South Carolina.
I already know my answer.
What town would you get rid of? All right. 71307 on the text line. Just start your text with the word fan and away you go. You can chime in via the phone line as well. At 844-326-3663 is where you can get to us on the show. What town in the upstate? You guys are gonna watch me dance here. You know why? You're gonna watch me dance so I don't have to name a town that I'm relegating. I'm hoping just to be the moderator on this, and you guys hit me with all the towns in the upstate that need to be relegated. Now, the catch is that you all get one. You all get a singular town, all right? And we're going to do this, Diesel, like the Steal a Tradition style, okay? If a town is jettisoned, somebody can bring them back, okay? Somebody can bring them back as a member to the upstate. But if somebody kicks out a town in the upstate and you do not bring them back, that town is forever banished to Exile Island, okay? By order of the Offsides crew, okay? I'm sounding all Peaky Blinders up in here on a Friday. By order of this and that, all right? So what town would you relegate from the upstate? Diesel, what do you got?
I would relegate. See, this town holds a special place in my heart for two reasons, Mark. Number one, it's where the love of my life is from, Armani Edwards. It's also where my wife lived for quite a while before she moved to Travelers Rest to go to school at Furman. No, my wife grew up in Greenwood, and Armani Edwards is from Greenwood. I have lots of reasons to love Greenwood. However, when she talks about Greenwood, all she talks about is how much of a bleep hole it was. Like
Really?
how far away from everything it was, how backwoods and backward it was, how small time the politics were. You know, she would talk about there was some sort of a human trafficking scheme out of the back of an ice cream shop that happened there. Yeah, it was like this rich family in town that owned an ice cream shop or something like that, and they were trafficking people through the back of this ice cream shop. So I'm going to say let's jettison Greenwood, because let's be real, it is Northeast Georgia. It is not southwestern upstate South Carolina. It is forever long to get there. It feels like I need to hop a flight to get to Greenwood. It is way farther down there than you think. The drive sucks because the road, there's only one way there, and it's 45 and then 35 and then 55 and then 25. And they're just begging for you to get speeding tickets on the way there and back. Done with Greenwood.
So, guys, Greenwood is kind of like borderline another state anyway,
Right.
Like, it's like they have a really weak handle on being an upstate town.
JD Wyatt's got a problem with that. He says Diesel wants to get rid of the town I'm from.
Yeah.
Well, you know all about it.
So does anyone want to save Greenwood? All that needs to happen is you guys need to text or call in and say Greenwood has been saved. Greenwood has been spared from Diesel's evil clutches. Texter says Lyman gotta go. They suck. Lyman has been kicked out of the upstate.
Oh.
Texter says, them is fighting words. If you're in Lyman, are you cool with being kicked to the curb like this? Texter says, Clemson has got to go. Go Knowles. Guys, are you going to allow Clemson to be kicked out of the upstate on the show today? Texter says, Anderson should be banished. Get out of here. So says Spur Daddy. So the scorecard has Greenwood gone, Lyman gone, Clemson gone, and Anderson gone. Texter says, not only do I not save Lyman, I'm the second one to kick Lyman's ass out. Texter says, down with Greenwood. I used to deliver there every Wednesday and Thursday and hated it. So we have not one, but two, but two people outing Greenwood, and not one but two people outing Lyman. The Leprechaun of Lyman has chimed in and he goes, hiddly-hoo! From the Leprechaun of Lyman, Lyman has been saved. Lyman has been saved from being jettisoned to Exile Island. My friends, you can kick a town out. You can relegate a town from the upstates. What town are you kicking out? Lyman has now been saved. Greenwood has been kicked out and not saved. Anderson has been kicked out and not saved. And Clemson has been kicked out and not saved. Where are we going with this? Promotion and relegation has hit the upstates. What are your reasons? Texter says, saving Clemson. Get that Knowles BS out of here. Madcraft is saving Greenwood. Saving Greenwood.
Oh, come on, Madcraft. You don't have to score points with JD by saving his hometown. Stop with that, Madcraft. Come on. Quit sucking up to your friend.
Offsides continues right after this. We are the Fan Upstates. What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides, Mark, Ryan, and Diesel, and we are the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 p.m. today. Thanks so much for making us part of your afternoon. Having some fun with the topic up for discussion today, my friends. We most certainly are, and that topic is, by the way, here's what we're going to do. I know you guys, like, we're all creatures of habit, right? Mark, I'm used to the top 5 at 5 at this time. We will get to the top 5 at 5. It's going to come in the next segment, okay? In the very, very next segment, because we stumbled on something that we're having some fun with here. A few of you guys have called in. We'll get to those calls here momentarily. But I want to update you guys on where we're at, okay? Diesel and I have been talking about how much we would love to see promotion and relegation in college football, right? Like each Power 5 league has a minor league relationship with a Group of 5 league, right? It's kind of like the G League in the NBA. The Sun Belt could be that for the SEC. Each year, the bottom 2 teams in the SEC would be bumped down to the Sun Belt, and the top 2 teams in the Sun Belt would be bumped up to the SEC. And I got news for you. The vast majority of years, Diesel, this is a tip of the cap to the football that's played in the Sun Belt. You know, I think Vandy would be stuck in the Sun Belt for quite a while.
Oh, yeah.
You know? I don't know who the second worst team is in the please don't say Florida. But I think Vandy would be stuck there for quite a while.
I don't think you're second worst, but you can definitely smell it down the wind. You know, you're not far away from it.
We can. I don't like that smell.
Imagine South Carolina playing Sun Belt football.
No. So in honor of Diesel and I's desire to have promotion and relegation in college football, we've decided to give you that same opportunity with towns in the upstate. Because for some unknown reason, there are 200 different towns in upstate South Carolina. And we want to give you the option to relegate one of them. Everybody can kick out a town in the upstate. Now, to be sure that we are equal opportunity bashers here, everyone can also save a town in the upstate that has been kicked out, okay? So the audience, a member of the audience can relegate a city in the upstate. They're no longer a member of the upstate, okay? And you guys can also opt to save them, to bring them back in. Thus far, here is what we've seen. Lyman gotta go. They suck. So said a texter, okay? Clemson has got to go. Go Noles. Anderson should be banished. Get out of here. So says Spur Daddy. Texter says, I second Lyman got to go. Texter says, down with Greenwood. I used to deliver there every Wednesday and Thursday and hated it.
So I kicked Greenwood out. They got saved. Now they're back out again.
Hiddly who, leprechaun from Lyman. Lyman has been saved. Texter says, saving Clemson. Get that Knowles BS out of here. Madcraft is saving Greenwood for his homies. And a texter says, Diesel, that none other than Gaffney is gone. None other than Gaffney is gone, my friends. Do you hear that?
The upstate is burning.
Gaffney is going up in smoke. Gaffney is burning right now. A texter has relegated the town of Gaffney. Here's why, he says. The education system is awful, and I hear they share teeth there. The only good thing to ever come out of Gaffney is I-85. So says Brandon from Spartanburg. Gaffney has been kicked out, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Greenwood has been saved. Lyman has been saved. Clemson has been saved. But Anderson and Gaffney, as of right now, have not been saved.
J.D. Wyatt says, maybe we win a conference championship in the Sun Belt. We should have been relegated back to the ACC a long time ago. He is a South Carolina Gamecock fan.
Diesel, unfortunately, the fire, it continues to burn. Salute us, South Carolina. This texter's not saluting them. They're burning. They have been kicked out of the upstate because the texter says, nasty, smelly towns. Oh,
what about the women?
God.
Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, man. Saluda is now gone. Saluda has been kicked out of the upstates. Well, Texter said, Diesel, Welford is the anus of the upstate, Diesel. Welford, Diesel, Welford.
Welford.
Welford is burning. Welford is the anus of the upstate that has just eaten a whole heaping of Taco Bell.
Hey, Welford has some of the strip clubs in the upstate. I wouldn't say the finest strip clubs in the upstate, just some of them.
Texter, Welford is burning as the anus in the upstate. We've all felt that, right? The burning down below. It's not a good feeling.
Thomas Cook is dropping a rumor into the YouTube chat. Says, rumor, Florida State and Clemson to the SEC. Brandon Keeler says, Thomas, I heard that too. Where are these rumors coming from, Thomas and Brandon? Please share with the class.
Texter says, thanks to this poll, there will be a giant sinkhole where the upstate used to be. Texter says, can I kick the leprechaun of Lyman out of Lyman?
Ooh.
I will also kick Lyman out too. So now Lyman is officially gone again. Lyman keeps getting decapitated here. Texter says, my ancestors founded Gaffney and their asses got to go. If for nothing else than allowing the 20-year I-85 project to continue. We have a double axing of Gaffney. A double axing of Gaffney.
That big, shiny red buttocks in the air is not going to save you this time, Gaffney.
Diesel, I have never heard of this town. Never heard of this, and I've lived here 4.5 years. Texter says, kick out 96. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard of 96.
I've never heard of that. What a horrible name for a town.
Yeah.
It's like Greenwood's crappier little bro.
It's like you got the whole town together. You counted how many people were there. Be like, all right, that's what we're going to call it.
Oh, I am so disappointed in this one. We can't click out this one, Texter. Texter says, kick out Sugar Tit. No, I'm not doing that.
We had the first one said promote Sugar Tit just because.
It's a blip on the map. If it were the pancake kind, more people would claim to be from here. What does that mean, Diesel? If it were the
I think he means flat boobies.
I see what he's saying. I see.
I think.
Texter says, yeah, Diesel, get the sound effect ready. Texter says, Union is a dumpster fire. Union, you have set Union ablaze, Texter. Shame on you. Shame on you. You have set Union ablaze. Union, I loved you. What happened? Let's see here. My nieces and nephews went to 96. My niece is a state champion from there. Yeah, but you haven't saved it, Texter. You haven't saved it. Texter says, tell that guy, hiddly-hoo, no, you can't kick me out. kick
Leprechaun of Lyman, why are you not calling into the show to defend your town?
Texter says, Diesel, get the fire ready. Get the flamethrower ready. Because Belton, Honey-a-Path can go. I feel so bad for all these towns, man. Why are you guys doing this to Diesel? This was one of those ideas where it's like, this might not be a good idea that I'm going forward with. I'm going to go forward with it anyway. I'm shocked at how many upstaters want to kick out some of their own.
People in Columbia are going to be like, what's all this smoke in the air? Is Canada on fire again? No, it's the upstate.
Texter says, Diesel, tell me if you agree. He kicks out Malden.
Yeah.
Are you going to save Malden?
Hell no.
You're not saving Malden?
Hell no.
He's kicking out Malden.
Got to teach him a lesson.
And their police.
What police? I see people driving around in marked cars all the time, but they never do a damn thing.
He's kicking out Malden and their police. That is so low. Texter says Possum Kingdom. I've never heard of this, Diesel. Possum Kingdom is a Toadies song.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a great Toadies song.
Yeah, Possum Kingdom is the town that American Ninja Warrior Booty Cothran is from.
I don't know what that means.
Do you ever watch American Ninja Warrior?
I watched the one on Netflix that's called Beastmaster.
Okay, it's called it was a massive show called American Ninja Warrior. Yeah. And one of the competitors, he was on there like 5 or 6 times. He was really, really good. His name was Booty Cothran, which is the most Possum Kingdom sounding name. Now he is easily one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And he's an incredible athlete, but he's from Possum Kingdom.
Okay. Is the Toadies song Possum Kingdom named for our Possum Kingdom?
I don't know. I
How
don't
about
know.
that? Texters is saving Malden. So Malden is
Oh,
is no,
come on,
Malden
Texter.
is no longer.
No.
Malden has
All right,
been
well, I'm
spared.
kicking him back out again. Kicking him back out again. Teach him a
Malden has
lesson.
been spared from the fire and
Malden-
now thrown right back into it.
Malden also had a chance at a soccer stadium, but didn't do the right thing and fight for it to get it.
But you blame Greenville for that.
I do. It's a Greenville County thing, not a Malden City thing. Malden City did the right thing, but they didn't fight enough to override it.
Brandon Keeler said, Saluda has a chicken processing plant there, so it smells. Yeah. Malden stinks. You can smell it from 85. So says a Texan.
Oh yeah, it does have that. It does have that oyster shell processing plant right there on Malden Road near 85, and it's got the Rewa plant, so they process the wastewater for the upstate. And if you drive that little stretch between 85 and the old G Brave Stadium, it reeks.
Does it really?
Yeah,
Wow.
human waste and oyster shells.
Oh, that is a great mix. Well, you have an aphrodisiac.
Yeah. It's an amuse-bouche of funk.
Folks, here's what we're going to do. All right. We'll keep this little here contest rolling at 6 o'clock. We're going to let you know the final towns that have been kicked out of the upstate forever. Okay. Texter says, I'm saving Malden. Texter says, I'm saving Malden again and kicking Diesel out of Malden. Okay. Diesel lives in Malden. You shouldn't be able to live in a city. And
all I
kick the
need to
city
do
out.
is I can move one block over and live in Greenville. That's what doesn't make any sense. My neighborhood is half in Greenville, half in Malden.
Texter says, Union has got to go. Everyone there looks like mashed potatoes. Union has been set on fire. I'm so sorry, Union. So sorry we had to. I can't believe how many of you are willing to burn down part of yourselves, part of the upstate. Malden Road smells nasty after my 2 morning poos. Malden didn't.
So you're the reason.
Malden didn't save the Greenville Braves, plus the sewage smell. They need to go. Malden has been saved, kicked out, saved, kicked out again. Malden keeps getting kicked out of this thing. So let's, Diesel, can you do me a favor, Diesel? Can you write some of this down? Okay. Can you do that for me, please?
Write down 400 text messages?
No, we're gonna keep a track of who's gone and who's back. Okay. Can you do that for me? Pretty please. With sugar on top.
Okay, I'll do that when I have time to do all of that.
Lyman's got to go. Lyman is back. Clemson has to go. Clemson is back. Anderson has been banished. No one has saved Anderson. Okay? Lyman has been saved. So we now have Clemson has been saved. Lyman has been saved. No one has saved Anderson. So Anderson is still gone. Okay? Gaffney is gone. Saluda is gone. Easley is gone.
What did Easley ever do to anyone?
People call it Sleasley. I don't know why. Welford has been called the anus of the upstate. They're gone. Okay. Let's see here. 96 Diesel is gone. Sugar Tit, sadly, is gone. The guy would have allowed a city called Pancake Breasts, but would not go for a town called Sugar Tit. Union Diesel is gone. Okay. Let's see here. Belton Honeypath is gone. 96 has been saved, Diesel. You can cross them out. All right. And then let us see here. Easley has been saved. Sugar Tit has been saved. Welford has been saved. Simpsonville has been banned. All right, Diesel, what towns are officially on the banned list right now?
Anderson, Gaffney, Saluda, Union, Belton Honeypath, and Simpsonville.
Those are the towns that have been banished and not yet saved. If you want them to still be a part of the upstate, you have until 6 o'clock to save them.
Thomas Cook says Greer, ? Thomas Cook, are you saying that we should banish Greer, or why has nobody mentioned them?
We gotta streamline these all on the text line. Okay, so bans, saves have to happen on the text line or via the phone line. Okay, the carpro.com text line or the phone line. All right. No one is saving Anderson for good reason. The texter says, let's get to Rick in Spartanburg, who is up next on the show. Okay, Rick is no longer there. Let's get to Rich in Chicago, who is up next. Hey, Rich.
Mark and Diesel, I got to tell you guys, you got more people nationally that are stealing your topics. You guys are whack jobs. People are picking up on all the stuff you guys do, which is pretty flattering.
I've heard that quite a bit, actually, man. Like, I've heard that quite a bit. Do you know that I was watching The Herd with Colin Cowherd last week, and Jason McIntyre was hosting, and I heard him say, stats are like bikinis. They show some things, but not all. Like that has been a staple of this show for 15 years, and I've heard it nowhere else. So it was obvious to me, Rich, that he'd heard that on CBS Sports Radio. He swiped it. That's okay. That's a compliment. I appreciate it, Rich. Thanks, bud.
No, you guys are trendsetters. You need to promote that.
All right, buddy. We got a minute or two. Hope to hear from you tomorrow on the CBS show, noon to 5. What do you want to get to here?
I want to get to two quick things. One of which I told Diesel, I'm going to give the first thing after listening to Beard. I kind of like this guy. He knows a lot.
Yep.
He's interesting to listen to. And it kind of piqued my interest. But I wanted you to comment after I'm off air about the jeopardy of what happens to the bowl systems with the playoff systems. It's going to diminish what's going on with all the big bowls. The small bowls will still exist because it's content. But I was thinking maybe that's why they took SC and UCLA in the Big Ten, because that's been a Rose Bowl tradition for 100 years, Big Ten against Pac12. Maybe that shows some, at least, rationale for doing that. That, and the other thing I want to talk about, well, to continue that on real fast, is the rights to the 12-team playoffs are owned by ESPN for 24 and 25. So they're not going to get hurt by the bowls. They control all the bowls, and they've got the rights to the 12-team playoff for 2 years. Be interesting to see what that goes for after their 2-year contract. But the last thing I want to tell you, because you're a good Gator, and I heard this from a very reliable source, that the head coach at Arizona is Jed Fish. He's a Gator.
Yep.
He's from Gainesville, and he was Spurrier's graduate assistant. And I've heard from 2 or 3 guys that are close to him, and I only know him casually, but he is highly interested in being an SEC guy, Arizona. So when all this conference alignment, now it may not happen immediately, but you're talking about a guy who has a program on the upswing, a really good guy, and would kill to get in the SEC. He went to high school in Gainesville.
Right.
You don't think he wants to play in the SEC?
I hear you.
But Arizona would be a wild card to talk about, because I think that's more likely than less likely.
Well, Arizona's already confirmed to the Big 12.
Are you sure of that?
Yep, confirmed.
Okay,
100%. Hey, Rich, thanks. We got to keep it moving, bud. Thanks so much for the call. Thanks for ringing us up. What do I think is going to happen to the bowl season? Bowl system is already done. It's already cooked. The expansion of the playoff and all of this realignment just furthers that nail. Okay, it's done. You're going to have the worst bowl season you've ever seen coming up this year, and then the following year it's going to be non-existent. And everyone's going to treat Diesel the bowl season when the playoff goes to 12. Everyone's going to treat the bowl season like their spring game. Okay? All right. Let's get to Leprechaun of Lyman, who is up next on the show. Hiddly-hoo!
Hiddly-hoo to you, Mark and Diesel. You wanted me to do it, and so I will. I'm defending Lyman. Lyman may not be amazing, populated, or grand. We may be a small town, tiny and bland, but the people there have heart and grit and are warm. Lyman, but really, that's not swell. This leprechaun lives here and represents the upstate well. So I just have one thing to say to the man that wants Lyman to go. Not just a no, but hilly hell no! Hoo-hoo!
Boy, Diesel, we haven't been doing this segment long. We started that at 4:46. Okay, he wrote that between 4:46 and now. That's really good. Leprechaun and Lyman, you got the talent in the audience, man. That's good stuff. Really good stuff.
In case somebody saves Gaffney, I'm thinking about it. Texter says Diesel has been saved. Hallelujah. Saved.
Texter says, let's see here. In case someone saves Gaffney, I'm kicking it. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry. Saluda only has a good golf course. That's it. Get rid of Greenville. It's overhyped and overpriced, wants to be a big city and is nowhere close. Texter, I save Greenville effective immediately. I kick out Piedmont. I think their library is next to an ABC store. All right, Diesel, we got Piedmont that has been kicked out here. Texter says, I heard a guy confuse the host for you the other day for your walk-up song. Piedmont is burning. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very sad occasion. All right. When we come back on the show, we will get to the top 5 at 5. We've got to get an update from Diesel on the towns that are currently on the banned list. Will anybody save them before 6 o'clock? Woodruff has now been jettisoned as well. Woodruff sucks. It has to go. But the texter has saved Gaffney. Gaffney has been saved. Woodruff has been kicked to Le Curb. Top 5 at 5 is next here on Offsides.
Guys, the last 30 minutes of the show has been an absolute blast. Thank you all so much for being here on the show again. And man, we're seeing this thing consistently get up there like 12, 13 people watching at any given time. Thank you so much. And hey, do us a favor also. Try to post at least 2 videos a week, sometimes 3 or 4. When you see those videos pop up, watch them and give them a thumbs up. Watch like half of the video or more. That would be insanely helpful. We're starting to see like YouTube videos getting 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 views. And, watching it when initially gets posted, that shows YouTube, oh my God, people like this video and they like it early on. So do us a favor and hit that. I know we ask an awful lot of you. Watch the videos, watch the live streams, text into the show, download the audio podcast on whatever platform you listen on. We ask you to do an awful lot, but you guys are great. And I know you guys will keep doing it. So thanks so much. And we'll see you back here on Monday.
Diesel said it all, y'all. He said it all. Y'all have a great weekend, right? Be sure to check out the CBS show tomorrow. And you guys are the greatest, man. Thank you so much. We have so much fun bringing the show to you every day.
Were you just flashing gang signs? You're like, Diesel did it all, yo. You're like doing this.
No, man, it's gangster. It's gangster.
Oh my God.